warn you that public speaking is not my forte, so please bear with me. I have my notes here because this makes me terribly nervous. It's really weird to be standing on the other side of this. I've been thinking a lot about my high school graduation.
Wait, oh, I promised Gail I would videotape. I'm sorry.
That's 3 people.
We got it, all 3.
You're videoing?
Yeah.
So
we're good.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So I've been thinking a lot about my high school graduation since they asked me if I'd speak here tonight. And I remember lots of little weird things. I remember reading Dr. Seuss's Oh, the Places You'll Go for the very first time. And I remember sitting reading this child's book crying. I don't know if you guys have read it, but just as a side note, I strongly suggest that you do. It's a great thing to have before you head off to college. I also remember being thrilled about graduating, making tons of party plans with my friends, and daydreaming about how I was going to decorate my dorm room once I got to college. I remember all these fun and exciting things, and I don't remember feeling scared. But then I thought a little bit more about my first year in college, and all the things that I wish somebody would have told me. I graduated from walking in near the top of my class. I did a lot of community service. I always worked really hard in school, and it always paid off for me. I assumed college was going to be pretty much the same way, except a lot more exciting because I'd be with people from all around the world, and I'd find new opportunities that I didn't know about. And it was like that. All of my friends were from a different state. One of my closest friends was from Nepal, and I got involved with all these organizations that I had never heard of. And I got involved with all these causes that I didn't even know that I cared about when I was in high school. But at times, it was also incredibly and painfully hard. My high school was really diverse, and when I got to college, I felt like I was kind of lost in a sea of white people, which might sound silly to you guys, and I think that most of the people I expressed that feeling to thought it was pretty odd, but it was really unnerving to me because it was assumed that I fit into this major demographic, and I had all these shared experiences and culture, but really I didn't fit into any of their boxes. I had never vacationed abroad, I had no idea how to network, I didn't come from a long line of physicians and lawyers, and I wasn't at college for the experience at all. I was there because I worked incredibly hard to get to a place where I could build a future for myself and for my family who had sacrificed so much for me to get to where I was. I never met a single classmate who understood that feeling, and I spent a long time feeling like an outsider. I kept doing my extracurriculars, and I kept working really hard at school, but I felt like I just kept coming up short. Felt like no matter how hard I tried, or what things that I gave up, I just couldn't figure it out. And I remember calling home in tears towards the end of my first semester and telling my mom, I'm dropping out, I'm coming home, transferring to somewhere closer, like I can't do this, I don't belong here. And I remember her crying probably just as much as me on the other end and saying, I'm sorry and I love you and don't take this the wrong way, but there's no way that's going to happen. She wasn't really sure how to help me though, because she had never been in the place that I was. So she called one of my high school teachers, and she called me up and she gave me some advice too. But really, everything that it came down to was everyone in my life telling me I had to ask for help. And that was something I didn't know how to do. I'd never really needed help before, and I really had no idea where to go about getting it. And I felt like a failure because I needed it. But thankfully, when I was choosing my course schedule at the beginning of my freshman year, I listened to one of the upperclassmen, and I had signed up for some first-year seminar in a class that I would, like in a department I would have never considered. It was a small class, so I had at least one professor that I felt like I could talk to. And she helped me navigate the system a little bit better and got me connected with the dean, who worked with first-generation students and minority students. When I met with her, we talked about a lot of things, but it was mostly me and how I was adjusting to going from the top of the bottom to being at the bottom of the top. And I'll never forget what she said to me when I finally stopped rambling about all the things I was frustrated about. She said, Alicia, you know what the biggest difference between you and them is? They look at your teachers as their employees, and you still see yourself as just a student. I hated the way she phrased it then, and I still hate it now because I think it's a terrible way to walk through life, thinking of other people in terms of how they benefit you. But she had a point, because they're my professors. My education was their job, and for whatever reason, I wasn't getting it. So I went to them and I asked for help, and they were happy to help me. They didn't see me as the burden that I assumed that they would, and for taking up their time. They were all committed to my success. I just had to reach out and ask for help. So we all put in extra time. And it might sound obvious, and it's pretty trivial, but really that's when things changed, when I stopped and I said, I need help. So the next 3 years went a lot more smoothly. I got in a groove and I found time to explore things that I cared about. I started doing research on stress and health outcomes in low-income women and looking at how social service interventions could impact those health outcomes for them. I found out that medicine could be an avenue for social change for me, which is something I had never considered even doing before, and I decided to apply to med school. When I went through the process at my school to do that, a different dean told me not to bother because people like me don't go to med school. That was a pretty terrible day. But I didn't let it change my mind, and I decided to go through it with it. And at the end, I mean, everything that I did in college took me way more work than any of my peers. But I got there. And at the end, I never quite made it back to the top, but I found things that I was passionate about and causes that made me feel like I had a sense of purpose. And when I graduated from Brown, I had multiple med school acceptances in my hand and a feeling of accomplishment that I had never even known before. It took a lot of work not to call that guy and rub it in.
I'm going to on Friday.
I knew med school was going to be a different beast from college academically, but with the rough transition I had, I figured it wouldn't really be that bad. I was wrong. Medical school was just like college, except worse. The academics were more rigorous. I had way less time for my friends and for my family, and a lot less time for things that I cared about outside of school, but I still had way more pressure on me to prove that I was committed to these other things outside of my career and being a well-rounded person. It was an exhausting road, and my study strategies from college didn't translate very well at all. But the things I learned about myself and about asking for help when I needed it and believing that I fully deserved my position got me through it. And I'm pleasantly surprised and a little bit shocked to say that in 3 days, I will graduate with my medical degree, and I'll be heading off to my #1 choice of training program out in Colorado. I need a chance to catch my breath. I also want to take this time to thank all the people I have in this room here behind me, my husband, and my mom, my grandma, my stepdad, Jack, Gail, who I know is not here, Candace, and all the wonderful people from Schuler. You guys have all helped me get through this, and there's really no way I would be standing here if it weren't for all of your support. And so with all of this academic life story, I want to end with some things that I really wish someone would have told me before I started college. It will be amazing. In 4 years from now, you're going to be a totally different person, probably doing something you don't even know you're interested in right now. Adding to that point, I want to encourage you to take advice from the people who went before you. Don't pigeonhole yourself because you think you know what you want to do with your life. Because when I graduated from high school, I was 130% sure what I'd be doing when I graduated college, and I changed that plan probably 7 times. Take a class in a department you wouldn't otherwise, and give yourself the room to grow into the person you're going to be. College is also going to be hard. Very often, people are going to be smarter than you, they're going to be wealthier than you, they're going to be more prepared than you, they'll be better dressed, and oftentimes they're going to be a lot quicker on their feet. But not a single one of them is any better than you. You deserve to be there. You worked hard, and you overcame obstacles that most of your peers will never even be able to comprehend just by virtue of being in the Schuler program. You earned your spot, so don't ever think for a second that there was some error in the admissions committee and they're going to revoke it from you. I say this because for my entire first year of medical school, every time I walked in the hallway and I saw a faculty, I was like, oh gosh, they're coming to take it away from me. Didn't happen to me and it won't happen to you. Know that your story matters. It's not your obligation to educate the people around you in any way, but share your story whenever you feel safe, because it will benefit you and it will benefit everyone who hears it. Stay connected to your support system and work on building new ones once you get to college. Call on your Schuler staff and your connection coaches, your high school teachers that you are close to, your Schuler peers here in the room, your friends from high school, and all of the people in the alumni network. We're all here to help you. We went through it. Call us if you need something. Go to the pre-college transition workshops at your school. It is so important. You have to find your new people because you guys are all going different awesome places and you're going to need people. Call your parents when you need to. Call them and cry. Call them and scream if you need to. But call them. and warn them to expect a little bit of extra crazy around exam time because they're also not ready for this. You moving, the fact that you're going to struggle, the fact that you're going to call them crying is going to be terribly hard for them to deal with, and they're not going to know what to do. So give them a little bit of warning, but don't ever hesitate to call and connect with the people you know who are behind you. On the topic of exam season, I know I don't need to tell you guys to do your best. You do all the time, and that's why you're here in this room. But what you might not know is that one grade, one semester, or one mistake will never unilaterally ruin your future. It will not happen. You can and you will figure out a way to redeem yourself. So freak out when you get your test score back. That's fine. Take your couple of days. But then stop it, figure out what you're going to do differently, and make sure it doesn't happen again. And if you take nothing else away from what I have to say tonight, please leave with this. Ask for help from anyone and everyone anytime you think you might need it. If you don't need it, great. But you want people on your team when you find out the hard way that things aren't clicking for whatever reason it is. Don't feel bad about it. Ask for help because people are here for you and your success, and you need to take advantage of that. Thank you guys so much for giving me the honor of speaking to you tonight. Everyone in this room is so incredibly proud of you, and we can't wait to see where you guys end up. And so I want to end with this wonderful quote about, oh, the places you'll go. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. Congratulations, class of 2015.
Alicia said that she wasn't used to public speaking, but I think she's learned something else there. Well, we're going to head off.